Hello, today we start with the first part of our new program, Safe and Healthy, and in this program that we will try to bring out all the food properties, and also we try to talk about the health benefits of each food. And in this program, Safe and Healthy foods are classified, are organized in groups, and all kinds of foods that may have the same properties or the same characteristics are ranged or are classified in one group. And today we start with the first group, which is the group of cereals or grains. And this group is characterized by some common chemical compounds or some factors. And you know that the group of cereals or grains, there are many grains, there are various grains in this group, but the most known are rice and wheat, soft wheat and hard wheat. But there are many other grains that you should know, and they are also very important for your health, and because they are source of many nutrients and very important nutrients. And this group is first characterized by starch, that these grains may contain from 65 to 74% of starch. And the cereals or this group is characterized also by the two vitamins, thiamine and niacin, vitamin B1 and vitamin B3. And this group is characterized also by the chromium, and chromium is called GTF, glucose tolerance factor, and we will talk about chromium. It's very important for the health. And the group of cereals is characterized by some phytoestrogens, phytochemicals in the brain, so that we will get some lignin, and we will get also the beta-glucan. We'll get a lot of them, and you know that the phytochemicals are very important nutrients, very important compounds for the body. And the group of cereals, you know that various cereals now can be consumed, but the most known are rice and wheat. But we have barley, that's soft wheat, hard wheat, rice and barley, corn, and also such oat, canary seeds, and quinoa, and rice, and so that millet, all these, and rye, and a lot of them. But the most known are wheat and rice, and you know that you should know all the other grains, that because each food may have its secrets. Each food may have its secrets. The group is characterized by some common chemical compounds, but if each type of grain or cereals may have a secret. And so that selenium is very important because it's a cofactor of the superoxide dismutase, and also not only the selenium but also the magnesium. And the superoxide dismutase is activated by selenium and by the magnesium. And you know that oat and rice, the concentration of selenium is higher in rice and also in oat, compared to wheat and corn, and also compared also to other cereals. Selenium is a characteristic of cereals, and zinc also. The mineral zinc also is a characteristic of this group, and it may vary from one type of grain to another. And so canary seeds, that only few people know about canary seeds, which are the grains which are given to the birds. And the canary seeds can be consumed, and they are considered as cereals, and canary seeds are the main source of phytosterols. And these compounds are very important for the health, phytosterols, and the 4 types of phytosterols, and also is a source of caffeic acid, it's a source of some esters, and it's a source of 3 amino acids. It may contain all the amino acids like the other cereals, but canary seeds are characterized by 3 amino acids, which are arginine, and tryptophan, and also phenylalanine. And these 3 amino acids are very important, so that tryptophan is sold in the pharmacies, and also the arginine also is sold as a medication. And the canary seeds are very important as cereals, and that you should know everything about these cereals, and you should vary your diet, for you can get some health benefits from these grains. And so the oat, you know, oat is more rich in minerals than the other cereals, and it may contain also a photochemical called aventramide, and the aventramide is anti-inflammatory compound. Aventramide is a secret of the oat. And so the corn may contain the pantothenic acid. It may have the common vitamins like thiamine and niacin, but more than the other cereals, that the secret of the maize is xanthine and tryptophan, and also refined the pantothenic, the B5, the vitamin B5. the pantothenic acid. Rice may contain thiamine, niacin like the other cereals, but also it may contain a high concentration of pyridoxine or vitamin B6. And so that you should vary your diet, for you can get all these advantages and all these health benefits from all the grains that you. Now that barley is very rich in beta-glucan, as you might know. Also the oat, barley and oats are very rich in beta-glucan, and beta-glucan may lower the cholesterol in your blood, and so. And these grains are so important. What we are now consuming are not cereals. We are consuming, or we're eating now only white bread and some, some pastas and some, but they are not really cereals. That when we remove the bran and we keep only the white flour, that will remove 70% of minerals and vitamins and fibers. And we should not remove the bran, and these grains should be consumed as whole grains, for you can get some health benefits from these grains, that because you know that the bran may contain the most important nutrients, which are vitamins, minerals, and also these fibers, these insoluble fibers. And cereals have been considered as a staple food for human nutrition. Is a staple food, and all the world now is living on these cereals, on rice or wheat. Rice is more consumed in the Asian countries, but wheat, soft wheat and hard wheat, are more consumed in the American and also the European countries. In our Maghrebian countries, that we have our particularity of these cereals, that we consume all of them. That in the Maghrebian countries, that we consume barley, corn, wheat, and also that oat and millet. Millet is very important. Millet is not really known, that it's not considered as cereals, but millet is a very strong cereal. It's a very strong food component. So millet may contain more minerals. The concentration in minerals is it is higher compared to the other cereals, and millet should be mixed with these cereals. Just that because not all the cereals can be needed. We cannot prepare bread from all the grains or on the cereal, but only from wheat. That because of the gluten. The other grains may not contain the gluten. That what we can need is only barley and the wheat, because of the gluten, that we cannot prepare bread. We can from corn or from millet or from rice, that cannot be needed. And we cannot get a dough from these cereals. And this is the problem, that if all the people now with celiac, with the disease, the celiac, or with some autoimmune diseases, they should avoid the gluten, and also the blood type O is very disturbed by the gluten. And when you have a problem with the gluten, or you cannot eat barley or wheat, and you have another type of grains, that we should choose another type, and they have the same characteristics, and that you have all the health benefits from the other grains, that you can eat instead of wheat or barley, that you can corn or millet or rice or quinoa or canary seeds or many other grains that you can eat instead of wheat and barley when we have a problem with the gluten. And these grains should not be removed from the diet. They are very important. They are a staple food, and they should not be removed from the diet, from the human diet. And so many important, that because you know that the clue of the metabolism inside the body are the thiamine and niacin, and so to some extent that so the pyridoxine also and the B5, the pantothenic acid. But thiamine and niacin are very crucial for the metabolism in your body. And also the most important minerals are not calcium, iron, and magnesium also. And cereals may contain a very good concentration of these minerals like iron, calcium, and so, but the selenium and chromium are more important in these cereals, because they are a main source, among the main sources of selenium and also of chromium and zinc. So, and but we should consume them as whole grains, but should not remove bran. When we remove bran, that that we remove more than 70% of the most important nutrients for the body, which are vitamins and minerals, and also insoluble fibers or some phytochemicals. And these grains are very important. And this group is characterized by some common chemicals, but each grain may have its secrets, like corn, like cavinoramide in oats, like pantothenic in corn, like pyridoxine in rice, and like also phytosterols in canary seeds, and the caffeic acid and arginine in a high concentration in canary seeds. And we have less phenylalanine in wheat than compared to barley, and less phenylalanine in barley compared to the canary seeds. The most important concentration, the higher concentration of phenylalanine is in canary seeds. And you know that the low concentration of phenylalanine is the soft wheat. For all people having a problem with the phenylalanine, they should consume they should not consume canary seeds, but they can consume the soft wheat, because the concentration of phenylalanine compared to the other cereals is lower. Is not really a harmful concentration of phenylalanine. And these grains are very important for the nutrition, but there are many other compounds. We will talk about them, some anti-nutrients, and these anti-nutrients also we will talk about them, which are the phytic acid and some lectins. Phytic acid and lectins, and we talk about the problem of gluten, also we talk about it, and the problem of lectins. Now, lectins, some people now are advising people to avoid these cereals, but the problem is not in the cereals. That the problem in the way we are consuming these cereals, that we are not consuming them in the right way. That because they should be consumed with other type of foods, and they should be at least consumed as fermented, and also with the polyphenols, that because the polyphenols may stop the activity of lectins inside the gut, inside the body. And the first group, which is the group of cereals, characterized by the major or the main components, which are starch, some fibers, phytochemicals, and also thiamine and niacin, characterized by chromium, and characterized also by a concentration of protein of around 10 to 12%. Some cereals may contain 17.5% of proteins, like quinoa and millet. So, but the medium, so you know that the concentration and the main of the concentration of proteins in these cereals are between 10 and 12% of proteins, and this concentration is sufficient for the people for living that, because you will see that some legumes, some beans may have a higher concentration in proteins. It's a twofold concentration in cereals. We will find that 20% of proteins in these beans, but cereals only 10 to 12% of proteins. And these proteins, you know that the problem of these cereals are anti-nutrients, which are phytic acid and so some lectins, and we will talk about them not in the next episode. That in next episode we will talk about the particularity of each grains, of each cereals, that you can get some interventions how to consume these cereals, that we are not really consuming them in the right way. And the white bread, people are now, when we talk about cereal, they think of white bread or bread they are eating. Now, you know, white bread is white flour that we remove. When we remove the bran, that we remove 70% of the most important nutrients, which are vitamins and minerals, and it's fermented the way that bakers, yes, and the time of fermentation is 2 hours, less than 2 hours. You know that it's not a good food. It should not be considered as a good food. That's the white bread. But bread before, the sourdough bread, were prepared from a sponge starter, which are natural sourdough starter, and the fermentation is about 8 hours, and the whole flour and the whole grains and the whole cereals are fermented to get a sourdough bread. And you know the sourdough bread should not compare to the bread we are eating now. What we are eating now is not bread. So, and we will talk about the fermentation, also about the baking. So, how to consume these cereals, for you can get some health benefits, and also for you can get some advantages from these cereals, because they are so important in the human nutrition. Until another episode, see you. Assalamu alaikum.